Hello and welcome to reading session of MJM022 Writing and Editing for Print Media. We will be starting today with Unit 1, which is Basics of Writing. The topics that will be covered under this unit are methods of writing, beginning to write, organizing your writing, and the writing process. Once the presentation gets over, then we can have question answers. Meanwhile, please keep yourself on mute. Thank you. Writing is an important tool. Being spontaneous, effective, and accuracy are certain essential skills which a good writer requires. Keeping closely to word limits and knowing their formats are also essential. Like a good writer must know when to stop, and he should also know what format he is writing for, whether he is writing an article or a report or a feature. He must know the format he is using. Writing is a three-way process which includes pre-writing, writing, and rewriting. Now you're planning, considering your readers, investigating your subject, and organizing your thoughts, your ideas, and your information. Everything comes under pre-writing. Your writing is when you're writing your full draft. But always remember, your first draft is never your final draft, because you always revise your draft. You always have some different thought at some other point. You might get some new idea at some other point. That comes under revising or rewriting your draft. Methods of writing. Now, writing does not have any set rules and regulations, but it's better if a writer follow certain steps or these methods, like identifying your subject. One needs to understand the brief that your editor gives you about your subject, what is going to be the reader's attitude towards that subject, and also why are we actually writing about it. Second is gathering information. Once you know your subject, it's important to gather all your information at one place. Then you can highlight the main points, or you can make notes out of those information, or you can do brainstorming for creating more ideas and thoughts about that subject. Or what you can do is mind map, which is actually kind of a flow chart but in your mind. Next is purpose. What is the purpose of writing? Why are we writing it? Why are we talking about this subject? And what is the format we are using for this particular subject? If the writer knows these two things, it becomes very easy for the writer to search in that direction. Next is knowing your reader. Who are we writing for, and what do they know about the subject, and what else you can provide them, what new information you can provide them, comes under knowing your readers. Last but not the least is managing the writer's block. Now, writer's block is when it is very difficult to generate new ideas, or when you don't have anything to say. So what happens then is we use a technique called free writing, where you just write without any evaluation or editing. Just write and try to generate new ideas. So after the pre-writing stage, we come to the writing part. Now we begin to write. Writing for the thesis. Now, what is thesis statement? It's the main point of our subject or the article. It's actually used in the introduction part. It's generally the first statement of your paragraph. It helps the writer to focus on his article, what he is actually talking about, and then he can organize his writing accordingly. Now, working thesis state is when you start working on your thesis statement, the details, the information that supports your thesis statement. It's always different from final thesis because you are working on it. You're changing it every time because you might get some new information to change it, to revise it. So at times in your thesis statement you might find essay map. Now what is essay map? It's a brief statement in the introductory paragraph introducing the main points. It's actually telling you what we are actually talking about in this paragraph. So now after making the structure or the skeleton of our story, we come to paragraph writing. Now what is a paragraph? A paragraph is a piece of writing which is unified by a central idea or theme. Now this idea or theme is known as topic of the paragraph. Once we know the topic, we write the paragraphs accordingly. It's better to start a paragraph with the introduction to the topic. Now supporting details can come further in the coming paragraphs, or we can use some coherent information, like we can give examples, we can make comparisons for writing the further paragraphs, or we can use a idea hook, which is actually the last idea that we had written in the earlier paragraph. So we continue with that. So the last segment of beginning to write is introduction and conclusions. Now your introduction should be catchy. It should catch your readers' attention. They should want to read your article. For that, it could be you can start your paragraph or introduce your article with a question or some shocking statement, or maybe you can tell people some personal experience related to your topic. Now your conclusions should give a complete sense to your topic, a complete ending to your subject. It could end with a warning, or maybe an evaluation, or maybe some opinion or a statement. Organizing your writing. Now a writer must organize his writing pattern in a way that the reader can easily understand, read and remember the topic. Now how he can do it? We have 4 strategies for this: exposition, narration, description and argumentation. The first strategy is expository discourse. Now expository itself means explaining. So in this form of strategy, the writer explains his topic so that it becomes easy for his readers to understand what he is talking about, because as per him, the reader does not have any prior knowledge to this subject. Now this is the most common form of writing. It is further divided into 3 parts. First will be your definition, second is classification, and third is grouping. Now definition is where he is answering the questions: what does it mean, what does it define? Classification, where he is dividing the topic into smaller parts, and grouping is where he is grouping all the similar information in one group. Second strategy will be narrative discourse. Here the writer narrates or writes his story in a chronological order, like in a sequence from beginning till end. Now to add some special effects, he might use flashbacks or maybe media res. Media res is when you start the story from the middle. Now from where to look for the ideas? You might have observed some event, maybe you've attended some event that gives you the idea of narratives, or maybe you have yourself experienced something which can help you write narratives. Generally you will find narratives in novels and movies. Third point will be descriptive discourse. This also involves narration, but in a picture making way, where the writer is describing either a person, a place or a process. Let's take an example. I hope you can see the picture in the slide. Now either you can describe her smile first and then the whole painting, or you can describe the painting first and then come to her smile. Last will be argumentative discourse. Here the writer expresses his opinion, but by looking at the both sides of the problem. He must understand pros and cons of the subject or the problem. Now your argument is shaped by a solid reasoning. Now reasoning could be of two kinds. Inductive, which is generally used in our day-to-day life, which is based on your general observation and the conclusion is generally true. Now deductive is based on certain facts and principles and are very rarely used. So the last segment of unit 1 is the writing process. Now this process is divided into 5 parts. First will be writing the first draft. Now your first draft, as we discussed earlier, is never your final draft. You just experiment in your first draft just to see what you wish to write. Second will be revising the first draft. Whatever was left out in your first writing is involved here. Third will be refining. Now in refining, you add the minor details or the supportive details that are required for your subject, for your article. Fourth will be editing. Now editing is very important because here you read your article again and again for all the errors that you wish to edit. So continuing with the editing part, in editing you read sentence by sentence and see if it makes sense. Vocabulary is checked, format that you're using for writing your article, or the visual aids that you are using in your article, like maybe some graph, maybe some picture or some chart, is taken care of. Now the fifth point is proofreading. Now this is a line by line or a word by word review. All your grammatical errors, punctuations, everything is taken care in proofreading. So it is as important as any other thing. Concentration plays a very important role in proofreading. So the first unit ends here and we have covered these 4 topics in unit 1. Techniques of good writing, methods of writing, types of discourses and process of writing.